This video, we'll talk about the age-old question, should you buy now or wait? So let's break it down and find out which is the best strategy for you. Just before we get started, my name is Reed. I'm with Real Broker here in Spokane. If you have any questions or if you're curious about should you buy your starter home or forever home, want to go deeper with that, all my contact info is below, and then subscribe if you want. I do 2 of these videos every single week. So if you're looking in Spokane in the real estate market, these videos are for you. Okay, let's get started. So let's start with the advantages of buying right now. One fairly obvious reason is you are gaining equity. When you're renting, you're essentially paying for your landlord's mortgage, and all of that money that you're putting in each and every month is not helping you. When you own a home, you're paying the mortgage, but you're also earning and gaining equity in the process. So instead of, say, living in a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom rental and paying money each year, you're living in a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home that's yours, and you're gaining equity every single month, which is helping your financial situation. Another thing is you're getting great experience with home ownership. When you're renting, you just make a call, things come and get fixed, and you don't really care, and you don't have as much pride of ownership. When you own a house, it's totally different. You're kind of on your own. You make the calls. If something breaks, you fix it or call someone to fix it, and it comes out of your pocket. So it really helps you understand, okay, this is how owning a home works, and we're using this starter home as a great base and example and foundation for maybe when we buy that bigger home. Another benefit about buying the starter home now is when you want to sell in, say, 2 to 5 years, it's going to be easier to sell because so many people are looking for those starter homes that are affordable for their family. So you have the option to sell, and you use that gained equity to then buy your bigger house. Or what a lot of people do, if they're in a financial situation that allows them, is they actually hold on to that home as their first rental property, investment property, and they rent that out, and then they buy their next dream home. And they buy that bigger home that they're looking for that's going to fit their situation better. But in the process, they just gained one rental property. So they have a renter in there paying the rest of their mortgage down, and it can turn into something that's pretty great for you long term. Final reason, and my most important reason for buying now, is that you lock in your monthly housing costs. So what does that mean? If you get a mortgage and the payment is $2,000 per month and you get a 30-year loan, that means that your payment's going to be $2,000 a month for the next 30 years if you'd like. If you're renting, your landlord can jack up the price, and they usually do increase it every single year. So if you're at $2,000, if you rent for another year or two, you're probably going to be up to $2,200, $2,300, and you have no control over that. So when you buy a house, you lock in your payments to hedge against inflation, anything like that, to where you know what your monthly costs are going to be every single month, and you don't have to worry about that. To me, that's a huge thing for peace of mind. Okay, so we talked about the good. Let's talk about the downsides. And here's the truth. It costs money to buy a house, and it may cost more than you actually think. Obviously, you have the down payment that you have to save up for. You have closing costs. You have agent fees. So these are the fees that a realtor earns for helping you buy the home or, sell a home. So we have to make money somehow, and that comes with transactions. And then there's the cost of furniture. There's the cost of any repairs that you might need that you found in inspection and the seller wasn't willing to do. And then there's just the basic updates and upgrades that you want to do when you move into a new space. You see all of this opportunity, you see all these things that you want to change, and everything like that costs money. If you don't have a ton of money over that down payment amount, it may not be the right decision to buy now, because a lot of times as you pay the down payment, you get into your home and you want to have an extra chunk of money set aside so that you can make those changes that you want to make, rather than feeling really tight and really squeezed for the first 6 to 12 months of home ownership. Because if anything goes wrong with the house, you're going to have to pay for it. You can't call the landlord. You can't have someone else come and fix it basically for free. It's on you now. So you got to make sure that your finances are right. And owning a home is more expensive than a rental at equivalent cost because you got to pay to fix stuff. Another thing that you have to think about is this starter home may not be exactly what you're looking for. And so one of the downsides of a starter home is it may lack some features or some highlights or some updates that you're looking for in a home that maybe your rental has. You may be downgrading in house and, features and updates to own your own home instead of renting because you want that equity and everything like that. But a lot of times starter homes are in areas where they aren't like your top list, and maybe they're in your mid-range of where you'd like to be, but it's a great price point and you can afford it. So that's something that you have to think about as well. So those are the 2 things you have to think about. It costs more to own a home. You may not find the perfect starter home with the perfect features in the perfect location. You may have to give a little bit in finding your perfect home. Okay, so let's shift over to waiting and the benefits of waiting and saving for a bigger home. Number 1, you can have a larger down payment saved up. Say if you give yourself 6 to 12 extra months, That's more money for your down payment to add up. And you can either put all of that down on the house to decrease your mortgage rate, or put a big chunk of that down and then use some of that money to buy down your interest rate up front so that your payment is even lower. Basically, having more money saved up will allow you to do more in the market, whether you want to buy down your interest rate or put a larger down payment on to get your monthly costs lower. Having more money is always helpful. You also get time. My wife and I did this. We rented for an extra year because we wanted to save money and have time to look at all the options and find the right house. We wanted a house that we wanted to stay in for the next 5, 10 years and beyond. And so what we did was we continued to rent, even though it hurt every single month to pay someone else's bills. We decided to rent for, I think we ended up renting for 8 months, and we found the right house and we were able to buy it. So renting gives you time to find that dream home that you're looking for, rather than feeling like you're buying a home that you're going to grow out of in 2 to 5 years and want to move. The freedom to wait and to sit back and relax and focus on what you really want, rather than, oh, there's a house. It's a really competitive market in the starter home. We need to go buy it right now. Hopefully it's great and hopefully it fits our family and we're doing this all in a rush. It gives you the time to sit back and actually find the home that you're looking for. Finally, I know that we touched on this a little bit with moving in 2 to 5 years, but it saves you the relocation stress. So if you're thinking you want to be somewhere for a long time and you buy a starter home that you're going to outgrow in 2 to 5 years maybe, moving might cause a lot of stress for your family. If you have kids, maybe you're moving them to a different school district, which would be really hard on the kiddos. So one thing that you should always think about is relocation stress. And if you find a starter home in a place where you're probably not going to want to stay for a long time, and then you're going to move, you got to think about how the stress is going to be on your family and affect your family. So that's one thing that you can avoid by waiting and finding the right home. As with anything, there's drawbacks to waiting too. So I don't know if you've seen, but the real estate market, it continues to go up. Homes continue to appreciate and prices continue to rise. So although that you're renting and you're saving money each and every month for a larger down payment, home prices are increasing every single year. So a lot of people go, oh man, we're gonna wait until the real estate market breaks, wait till it busts and everything is cheap. I don't think that's actually gonna happen. And so you could be waiting and waiting and waiting. So you look up in 2 years and you've paid $40,000 towards your rent, which you don't get back in equity, and home prices have jumped, making all the money that you've saved, that extra money, not do a whole lot. Always say that if you're ready to buy and you have the money to do it and you're ready mentally, financially, I think you should do it, because you are gonna be so much happier paying your mortgage compared to paying your landlord's mortgage. Another thing is, we don't know what's going to happen with interest rates. It's easy to say, yep, they're going to come down. They've got to come down over the next couple years. What if they go up? What if they go up to 9%? What if they go up to 9.5%? And you're still renting and it's been a couple years and you've missed out on all this potential equity. You've missed out on these other homes that you could have purchased. You missed out on all the, interior design and decor and just cozying up your own home for 2 years, just hoping that interest rates would drop. And they didn't work out. This happens to a lot of people. You hope and you pray and you wish, and sometimes things don't work out in your favor. So that's something that you really have to weigh is, can I live with interest rates going up to 8 or 9% in 2 years, knowing that I could have bought at 7% right now and been gaining equity over the past 2 years? Finally, as a numbers guy, it hurts so bad when you start calculating all of your costs for rent. So let's just say you have a $2,000 a month rent. That's $24,000 a year. Say if you rent for 1 year, that's $24,000. Instead, you could be paying $24,000 towards your home and gaining equity, gaining appreciation, and knowing that your housing costs are locked in. That's what I love. Lock in your housing costs so that your landlord can't up your rent every single year for a home that's gotten 1 year older. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, so we talked about the drawbacks, we talked about the benefits. Let's talk about what's going on in your personal situation. You always have to weigh what's going on in your personal life. Do you work remote? Can you work anywhere in the city? Are there certain schools that your kids need to attend? One of the main considerations is what's going on in your personal life. When we're talking about a starter home, can this starter home fit your family's needs for the next 2, 3, 4 years to where it makes sense to either rent out or sell it and buy the bigger home? Or will it not work? Will you buy this starter home and it instantly becomes too small? It becomes a stressor in your life. And now you've got this house that you bought that you don't like, that you want to offload, but you really can't because you spent all your money that you saved on the down payment and maybe upgrading some things. So you have to think about where you're at personally and how this home will work for your family or just you in general. You also need to think about the market. Do you think the market is going to improve? Think about where you're looking for your houses. Has that neighborhood appreciated at the average or above average rate? Or are you buying in an area where home prices don't really go up because it's a gnarly area? You got to be sure that you're buying somewhere where you feel confident that your home is going to appreciate because you're in the right neighborhood with the right school district, with the right, restaurants, amenities, things like that. You're buying somewhere where people want to be so that if you ever need to sell the house again, it won't be a challenge. You're going to recoup the money plus some. We had all this to say. Here's a couple creative ideas for you if you're considering this as well. So the first one, I touched on it a little bit. You can always rent out your starter home once you find the right big home that you want to stay in for the next decade plus, right? So a lot of people do this. They buy the starter home, live there for 2 or 3 years while they're saving for another down payment for a bigger house, right? So it's a lot of saving, but it's great for your financial health. Buy this house. 3 years later, you want to move to a bigger one. You have enough money. You're in a good financial situation to buy the bigger house without needing to sell your starter home. You can use that property as an investment property. Now you have renters who are essentially and supposed to be paying down your mortgage while you are in a new, bigger home and you're gaining equity on both homes. So it puts you in a good position for the long term. Another creative solution is doing some strategic upgrades. These don't have to be super costly, but doing the things that actually increase resale value. So in your time living in the starter home, maybe you are painting inside or out, as paint can increase your resale value by a ton. If you got crazy paint in your house and it makes it look ugly and it makes it look unappealing to a buyer, change that out. You'll be set up for success. Maybe you're going to upgrade a bathroom a little bit or upgrade the kitchen a little bit. Don't spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, but make these little upgrades that buyers are going to be looking for. And you can ask a realtor like me or ask your realtor, hey, what gets you the most bang for the buck? What I've seen, and I always think it's a good idea, is paint. You paint over the ugly. You paint over all the marks. You paint over different colors that might throw some people off. It's a huge benefit when you're trying to resell your house. So think about that, minor upgrades, and then also think about the potential of renting out this starter home. And instead of having to sell that home in 2 to 3 years, you use it as an investment property for your future. Now, if you have any questions about this, please reach out. All my contact info is below. But my final thought and my final message to you is that I went through this same exact situation. We decided to rent a little bit longer so that we could save and buy the house that we really wanted. We didn't want to do the starter home situation. We didn't want something that was small. We didn't want something that was old. Here's why. We already had 2 boys and we knew we wanted more kiddos. So we didn't want something that we knew we'd grow out of in 2 to 4 years. Also, I'm not super handy and we're busy with kids. We don't want to deal with a whole bunch of stuff breaking, right? If you're handy and you got time, you can fix stuff, no problem. But for us, we didn't want to spend time fixing a whole bunch of stuff. So we waited. And yes, it hurt. I was calculating all the costs, all the rent that we were paying that we would never see again, all the potential equity that we could have been gaining, the fact that our rent was increasing every single year. So I lived it. I totally do. And I totally understand where you're getting at. I totally understand where you're at and why you're thinking about this. So if you have any questions, you want to walk through and really dig into like the numbers side, even the mental side, and just help you create a plan, a game plan for, you or you and your family, reach out to me down below. It's so fun to talk about, and I will never talk you into anything that you don't want to do because this is such a big deal. I want you to make a great decision and a decision that you're super happy about. So with that, we tackled the age-old question, should you buy now or wait for a dream house? So many clients come to me with this question, and I hope that you feel a little bit more clear about this moving forward. If you have any questions, reach out. And then if you want to subscribe or like this video, it always helps. I do 2 of these videos every single week. So if you're looking for a home in Spokane, these videos are here to help you and guide you to make the best possible decision.